Welcome back to Day 2 of the 2021 Texas Workforce Commission Virtual Forum. Enjoy your session, and remember, complete the survey for each session that you attend. These surveys will be sent to you via email at the end of each session.
On the air with your, and I'm muted, okay. Am I unmuted? Okay. So welcome everybody back to Workforce Wednesdays on the air with your local Workforce Development Board. My name is Pamela Brockhausen, and together with Anita Smith, we'll serve as your moderators. And we'll be in the background monitoring the Q&A and handling any issues that may arise. And so please note you're not alone in the session. You are part of a larger audience. It's just that you're in a listen-only mode for the duration of today's session. And as a reminder, the session is being recorded. The presenters would like you to submit your written questions at any time during the presentation. To do that, click on the Q&A panel at the bottom right of your device screen. When you type your questions into the text field, be sure to click the drop-down and send it to all panelists before you click send. And we'll also be taking questions at the end of the presentation if we have time. If you're really enjoying the session, feel free to give feedback, and that's under the participants section using the megaphone. We're not sure about closed captions, but try to click on Multimedia Viewer for external site, and then click OK. If that doesn't come through, we're going to paste the links in so y'all can watch it on YouTube later, and I believe it has Spanish captions. If you experience technical difficulty at any time during this WebEx event, please submit your technical issue in the Q&A panel too, and we'll try to assist you. And to enlarge the video, there's an expand view button at the bottom right. It's the second from the right. So if we don't have enough time for your questions, the presenters' contact information will be displayed at the end of the session. And also a reminder to complete the survey when you exit the session. With that, we invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy today's presentation. I'm Bianca Cervantes and Kandolite Carson, media producer, both with Workforce Solutions Borderplex. Take it away, ladies.
Thank you so much, Pamela. So my name's Bianca Cervantes. I'm not sure if that cut off. I'm the communications director over here at Workforce Solutions Borderplex in El Paso. We serve 6 counties, and today we're going to talk to you about Workforce Wednesdays. It's a video production that's been in existence since about, I'm going to say, September of 2019. And every week we get together and create a story about different highlights happening at Workforce Solutions Borderplex to bring attention to our programs, our services, performance on specific programs, and things that are going on, anything related to Workforce Solutions Borderplex. What we're going to cover today is you'll get to know a little bit about myself and Kandolite, how we are incorporating student mentorship and collaborating with the community to make this show possible. The concept of brand journalism. We definitely have to talk about how COVID has impacted the trajectory of Workforce Wednesday in a good way. And we wanted to give you a few tips about how to get started with storytelling in this manner or something similar. So just to talk a little bit about ourselves, and Kandolite goes by Kando sometimes, so just so that you guys are aware. That's what we call her over here. So to talk about a little bit about myself, I'm a former newsie, and so is Kandolite, and believe it or not, that's actually how we met 10 years ago as rookie reporters, rookie newsies, straight out of graduation in 2009. We both worked for the Fox affiliate here in El Paso, and she was my reporter. I was a rookie producer, and we worked the graveyard shift. So we had to be at work by 11 p.m., and we were there till about maybe 10 a.m. in the morning. It was a rough patch, but we got through it, and we learned a lot. It was like storytelling boot camp for us. And from there, I stayed in news for a little bit, got a little more experience behind the camera, on camera, and then I made a jump into events and marketing. At that point, I was able to get more logistical versatility, where I was able to juggle a million things at once. And I think that's where this element really comes into play when it comes to producing this weekly series. And then after that, from events, I jumped into workforce development. And here I am today doing what I love most, which is serving the public. But I am still able to incorporate my journalism tradition, my logistics balancing, and do what we have to do for the workforce and the economy. And I'll let Kandolite talk a little bit about herself. Oh, looks like we lost her. I'll tell you a little bit about Kandolite's background. Like I mentioned, she met with us. We met back in 2009, and she took over KFOX. After I left KFOX, she actually went from being a reporter to being a traffic anchor and an all-around reporter, where she was able to do weather. She was able to pretty much jump in left and right, any position that they needed her to be in, which was amazing because that gave her a lot of versatility and ability to tell stories in all aspects. Oh, I think we got her back. Kando, can you see? Can you hear me? I don't think so. Sorry about that. Okay. So
sorry, can you guys hear me now? Sorry.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, sorry. Speaking of technology issues, I'm in Houston, traveling last minute, and I think that my internet just went down, but I'm back. So yes, Bianca covered everything. I would just like to add that we both have a great passion for not only storytelling, but connecting our community to what we feel they need to know. So having gone from news, where it's breaking news, whether it was weather-related, traffic-related programs, organizations, we early on had the opportunity to interview Workforce Solutions Borderplex. I interviewed them several times and did stories on initiatives, so I was already aware of the work that they were doing and what the organization did, and lo and behold, 10 years later, here we are working for the organization. So we have a passion for this, and so it makes it really easy for us to share these stories, because we know that we're helping the Borderplex get back on its feet, get back to work, and we're sharing this content in hopes that we're inspiring people to take advantage of our programs, that we're inspiring future community partners, that we're inspiring our own staff in-house, and that they're seeing the great work that they're doing, because we're using our skills as journalists to create these stories and share them weekly. So it's been really fun to basically compound everything that we've learned over time, and to be able to do it also at a pressure point, because a lot of our programs, as you know, anyone who's in this showcase, we have such multifaceted programs, whether it comes from grant funding from the state, from the federal level, all our coordinators in-house. So we're narrowing down a lot of information to make it simple to share, and it takes a lot of work for us to field all that, but I love it, and it's been a great venture thus far.
So I kind of want to talk about the mentorship and collaboration aspect of what makes Workforce Wednesday possible. So when I first thought of this idea back in 2019, I had just started with Workforce, and I knew that there had to be a storytelling element, because at this part, we were the administration of Workforce Solutions Borderplex, and I had to figure out a way to translate administration into something that was relatable, that the public eye could really understand, that went just beyond the collateral pieces that we created from flyers, brochures, and whatnot. And we needed to be consistent with telling stories about what we do. One of the issues that we faced early on was, and we still somewhat to an extent face it, is that several people in the public mistake us for the unemployment office. I'm going to be the first to admit that when I saw the job opening for the communications manager here at Workforce, I thought I was applying for the unemployment office. And it wasn't until I did my background research and kind of started going through the website, I realized that we were not the unemployment office. So if I was mistaken and being, someone from the news industry, and it just was the immediate thought process was to associate Workforce Solutions with Texas Workforce. And sure, the name confuses it, but I wanted to fix that. And lo and behold, we had a program coordinator in-house named Lucio who mentioned that he worked really closely with all of the high schools through one of the school districts that he was working closely with. And he just so happened to come into conversation with an individual that worked at Riverside High School. And he told Lucio, I'd like to do some kind of internship with my students. We do media production, see if there's something we can do. So then Lucio sends me, this is a crazy story, okay? Lucio sends me a picture on my cell phone about this idea. Hey, do you think we could do some type of internship in your department? He sends me this picture of an anchor desk, which is the picture that you see right there on the screen. And I'm looking at it and it looks so familiar. And I go, where is that anchor desk from? What's going on here? Because that's the studio that the students have. And he says, well, that was actually just donated over from Channel 9. I had actually been the person to sit at that anchor desk while I worked at Channel 9. So it was almost like a sign that we had to collaborate and make this happen. So right away, that's when the idea popped up. Let's team up with this group of high school students that's already learning how to do video production, and let's teach them journalism. Let's teach them technical background, everything, direction, editing, writing, and we could actually make it an experience that not only benefited Workforce in the storytelling aspect, but it benefited the students. And Mr. Villardel here, who is the instructor for this class, was super excited because they were actually going to be getting actual experience doing exactly what they would be doing once they graduate and working with somebody that was from the industry. Here's another coincidence. Rick himself, and this was, this is just the small town of El Paso, worked at Channel 9 over 20 years ago and understood all of that as well. And he had actually crossed over into education. So Rick knew news, I knew news, and now it was just a matter of putting all those pieces together. So when we first started this partnership, we created a Workforce Wednesday story about Workforce Wednesday. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Paul to tune that up so that we can stay and listen, and you can kind of watch one of our earlier productions. Mind you, this is pre-COVID times, and this is our former group that was in the program last year. And the person with me, unfortunately she's no longer with us. She's a former assistant, but she was my partner with storytelling before Kandolite came on board. But I think this video does a really good job of explaining what Workforce is, the behind the scenes, and how everybody has to come together to make it happen.
Hey everyone, it's Workforce Wednesday, and you know what that means. I'm your host, Bianca Cervantes, alongside my sidekick, Rebecca Eid. Welcome to Workforce Wednesday.
Thanks, B. That's right, it's Wednesday, and we are so excited to bring you an extra special look into the making of Workforce Wednesday. Take a look.
Green screens, bright lights, and dancing word scripts. Just another day behind the scenes of Workforce Wednesday, the weekly episode that brings you highlights of the progress we're making in developing the local workforce.
And it's all made possible by Mr. Villardel and his band of super students participating in the Career Center at Riverside High School in the audiovisual production department, with a little help from B Squared, of course.
Right now what they're doing is they're getting practice in a real, actual working production. So they're actually doing something that's worthwhile, that it's not just busy work, but they're actually doing something that's going to be shown, and they're getting real experience in a real situation.
Workforce Wednesday came to life thanks to the connection by Workforce Solutions' very own youth project coordinator, Lucio Glenn, and Mr. Villardel to somehow fuse students with Workforce Solutions' Borderplex. The concept of visual storytelling via our PR department was born, and fully supported by the YISD team, to include Ceci de la O, Isleta Independent School District's Workplace Learning Coordinator for Career and Technical Education.
Workforce Solutions Borderplex then developed Workforce Wednesday, a show that would be directed, produced, edited, and recorded with the assistance of the CTE group at Riverside.
Beyond highlighting hiring events, program successes, and updates at our organization, Workforce Wednesday is, in its own way, developing the future workforce with a 2019 inaugural team as they learn the ins and outs of telling a story, producing a show, and organizing countless moving pieces with diverse characters and complicated equipment.
It would help me get a more professional job rather than just an entry-level job, and probably give me more experience when it comes to this kind of work.
The students behind Workforce Wednesday are the moving force in the evolving industries of public relations, journalism, and studio technology. We're honored to be a part of their growth and future contributions to the community as they follow their career path.
You just got an inside look at all the talent and dedication that goes into each and every Workforce Wednesday. And the best part? We're just getting started.
That's right, the more views that we get on YouTube and on Facebook, the more our excitement and passion grows, as does the talent of this awesome team at the YISD Career Center. So we greatly appreciate your feedback and support.
Thanks so much for watching, and we're signing off here from Workforce Solutions Borderplex, where we work for you.
That's so awesome. And we actually have a question already. Do you have a specific story structure that you try to stick to? And if so, what is it?
So we have, and that's a great question, and we have a format where we do, Kando and I together at the beginning, so we do intro, and then we write out a script. And what we try to incorporate in our script, aside from the 5 W's, because that's the first rule that they teach you in journalism school, we do the 5 W's and make sure that we integrate everything on those 5 W's. But we really try to highlight the program and or the service more than anything. The program and services is key. And after we highlight the program and service, we ensure, we try to have some resolution, but we also ensure that there is a call to action at the end so that there is a benefit and a return on us producing that. So whether it's calling out for outreach for a specific program, getting people to come to our centers, or some type of action, signing up for a screening, we try to do that. So 5 W's, intro, story, with the 5 W's, resolution, and then call to action. And I'll let Kandolite talk a little bit about that too, because since she's been on board, she's developed her own format, which follows a similar concept, but she has a lot more to discuss on that.
Yes, and I'd be happy to share kind of like the outline or bare bones if anybody wants to see how we write that script, because obviously in the PR field, if you're in this department, you're writing press releases, you're sending emails to media contacts, you're digesting all this information from coordinators, from grant writers, and so it's very what I would say government. It's very formal. There are certain acronyms that we use to discuss some of the programs and what have you. So we extract all that and try to make it as conversational as possible. And as Bianca mentioned, I think one of the key things I've learned is, who are we telling this story to? In the news, it's a general audience. But here, it's brand journalism, which is something that has helped to evolve our writing and our storytelling, and something that I wouldn't say it's been a learning curve for us, but has been a new way for us to storytell that we've had to adapt to, especially now, because it's a lot of marketing and storytelling. You know, we want to get people in, but we're not selling a product. We're selling opportunity. So when people think about Workforce Solutions Borderplex, we want them to think that we're their hype team, which is what we call ourselves now. We're here to give the tools that they need to put in their toolbox to be the best version of themselves, to provide the best quality of life for themselves or their family. So we don't want them to come to us with their head hanging down. We want them to know that we're here to get them started on the change train, which is my new favorite term to use. So when we talk about the change train, so when we think about the elements of a good brand story, right, not just your run-of-the-mill news story that you see or anything that you might hear on the news. All of us follow on the entertainment side, the things that we like, whether it be a podcast, whether it be a YouTube subscription, or a Netflix show that we watch. So headlines are very important. So we typically sit down and think about our month. We plan our month ahead. We look at what's happening now, what programs are going out now, and we decide first and foremost what needs to align with the marketing that Bianca already has going out. So all of our Workforce Wednesdays align with our digital marketing, with our news partnerships. So you hear it all around. Bianca's doing an interview on the news, then you're also going to hear about that same program or service or partner in our Workforce Wednesday. That also goes out on our social media. That also goes out on our radio interviews. So everything is tied in for the week. Then we find an attention hook. You know, if we're consuming this story ourselves, what is the most important part about this program? What's so great about it? How does it function? Is there a new partner in here that's awesome? Is this one of our, we have a lot of new programs. We're throwing out new solutions in this pandemic world that we're living in. So what are some of the things we're doing? One of my favorites has been us addressing the digital divide in the Borderplex. Our digital service team has been amazing. Digital transformation service team. So those are the hooks that we're looking at. What does it mean for the business owner? What does it mean for a single individual, for a working mom, for someone who just lost their job because of COVID? We have to look at that attention hook and tie that empathy and that personal story. And that's where the connection and inspiration comes in. So yes, we're selling the opportunity, and yes, we're saying, you know, all of this is great and we have this program. But something that we've been told and we've heard in our meetings with coordinators and what we're seeing personally in the world and in our community from people, even sharing on social media or friends talking to us, is they want a resolution. They don't have time to be on the phone all day. Sometimes they are so frustrated and tired, they don't even have time to look on our website to be searching and trying to find that story that they heard maybe on the radio or what have you. So when we complete our stories, we offer that resolution and that call to action at the end. We don't just pitch them and throw them to our website, because they could go down a rabbit hole and they've already spent their 2 minutes of maybe the only free time they have of the day watching our Workforce Wednesday. So we give them the direct contact information to our coordinators or to the program. We provide an email or phone number at the end of our Workforce Wednesday so that they know exactly where they need to go if they're interested in this program or service. So it's really exciting. It all comes together well, and this is what we now call brand journalism.
And one thing I want to mention too, when Kandolite mentioned that we had to kind of shift the way we told stories coming from the news industry, and align it to this new brand voice that we've started to implement across the board. And the hardest part, and Kandolite can vouch for me too, was to, you all know how reporters, anchors have this news journalism voice. Like, you know that it's just this dialect, it's an accent, and not even an accent, but the purpose of that voice is so, because journalists and anchors jump from market to market and each region has a different accent area, you can tell where, like, you can tell somebody from El Paso right away because of the way El Paso sounds, right? So you have to kind of neutralize your accent using that that journalism voice, right? And that's why everybody kind of sounds the same, almost like a personal robot. I don't know. There's just this sound, and we're all familiar with it. We had to move away from that and be ourselves and talk more like if we were from El Paso, because since we're now relating only to the El Paso audience, we had to shift and actually start integrating some of the slang, some of the inflections, and just so that you know that, hey, we're part of the community. You can trust us. You can relate to us. So that was a super important element of brand journalism that we did not anticipate. But the best part of it is that it encourages authenticity within ourselves. So what you're seeing on Workforce Wednesdays is Bianca and Kandolite at their true core, and whether it's and it helps us interact a lot more easily when we're on camera, and we just, it's the best part. I think it was hard, but it's the best part of branding because we can be ourselves.
Definitely. We had to rewrite scripts because in the news, especially because we came from K-Fox, which is, you know, we're known as being serious, so you're not allowed to really have a personality or be conversational. And so we had to remind ourselves that, you know what, yeah, these programs are serious. Yes, we're a government agency, but These programs are also fun, and there are amazing success stories that have come out of them. So that's part of the brand journalism as well, is talking to Bianca like I would if she was a friend, as if Bianca texted me and said, hey, I want to go back to school, but I don't have anyone to watch the kids, and it sounds crazy, but I've always thought about going into construction. Okay, Bianca, guess what? We have this program. And so that's how we always try to put ourselves in place when we're sharing these stories. But I do have to say, too, that we genuinely get excited when we speak to our coordinators and we see these programs that we're marketing, because many of them are a first of their kind. And it's so great to see us offering these solutions, because that's our middle name. So literally we have a solution for everything, and we're here to tell them about it in the most fun way we can.
Alrighty, and I'm not sure, Pamela, if there's any questions that we can answer at this point before we show our next video.
There's no questions.
Okay, awesome. So if I can have Paul, well, let me explain what we're going to show next. So we wanted to show a more recent story that it implements all of these bullets, and it's regarding a program that we found to be extremely unique and impactful with the community because it had to do with COVID. It was actually one of those silver linings that we had to change. So obviously, first responders needed to be vaccinated as quickly as possible. And I mean, the demand was like, here are the vaccines, everybody needs this shot now. And obviously, there's so many people out of work and so many people, there's only so much capacity that these hospitals had that we were actually able to provide a solution to the hospitals while providing a solution to the public and to the first responders in making sure that we were going head in with COVID ourselves. So I love this partnership. I thought this was a great opportunity to bring up the program. So if you want to go ahead and play episode 54 for us, Paul, thank you.
Welcome back to Workforce Wednesdays. I'm Kandolite. While we are still living in a pandemic in 2021, it's important to also focus on the fact that we're moving forward in the fight against COVID-19. Right now, thanks to some of our local partnerships, along with a grant from the Department of Labor, we are actually helping with the administration of the COVID vaccine right here in our community throughout the Borderplex. Today, we want to share with you how we are part of the solution. The COVID-19 vaccine rolled out across the nation recently. With healthcare workers and first responders already strained on the front line, they not only needed the vaccine first, but needed aid to administer the vaccine itself. Workforce Solutions Borderplex seized the opportunity to utilize the Disaster Recovery Dislocated Worker Grant from the Department of Labor. This resulted in a partnership with UMC and the Hunt School of Nursing and the Foster School of Medicine at Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center of El Paso. Students in their program stepped in and helped to administer the first round of vaccines to healthcare workers at UMC. Vice President Dr. Andrea Tani shares what this meant for students and our community.
Just positive feedback. I think just so grateful to have been asked to participate in the project and really, just sort of in a way making history by being part of the first vaccinations for our community and our frontline workers. And for them to be able to experience that, when you think about it, our students are learning at such a unique time.
Dr. Tani says the next step in supporting the rollout of this vaccine is education with outreach in our community.
To start building some trust and understanding about the vaccines and what to expect and how to even get signed up and to have.
Meanwhile, our organization is working on continued support services for the second round of COVID-19 vaccinations, one that will continue to help dislocated workers with administrative skills. Our business services manager, Denise Arieta, shares more.
So what we're doing with UMC in this second phase is we're committing to 15 people for approximately 5 months. These people will be able to support them through their main campus and at their clinics for the vaccine process, whether it be through customer service, helping people out, pre-screening them, or in the event that needed is also in the administration of the vaccine.
We are so grateful to all the students that assisted us in phase 1 and to work with these great community partners. We are so proud to help with the fight against COVID-19 in our community and to not only do that, but do so utilizing our own mission, helping people also get back to work. here in the Borderplex, because that's what we're here for. Now, if you would like to help with the second phase of vaccinations, have an unemployment claim, and also have some administrative skills, please contact Denise Arrieta. Her information is at the bottom of the screen. If you would like information on the vaccinations themselves and to see if you're eligible, please visit dshs.texas.gov for more information. Meanwhile, please continue to stay safe, social distance, and mask up. From Workforce Borderplex Solutions, where we work for you, I'm Kandolite.
All right. Can you guys hear us?
Yes, we can.
All right.
Okay, here I am. Alrighty, so I love that story. I love the impact. It's one of our favorites, and again, like I mentioned, it's one of the silver linings of COVID and us having to work from home. But what I really love about this story is that it touches on the collaborative, the expansion of what we're able to do with Workforce Wednesday. Because in the past, when we were doing Workforce Wednesday in person interviews, we would just be driving all over town. We would be, having to, there was just not as much flexibility when it came to interviewing others and willingness. But now that everybody's gotten really comfortable with the virtual scene, we are able to get access to so many more sources when it comes to supplementing these stories. And because we're able to do it virtually on Zoom, we don't have to worry about equipment or anything like that. We can actually just record on camera. So that's kind of a nice little side benefit of what we've been doing because of COVID. But what it's also done for the organization is that Kandolite and I are now required, when we write these stories, we're required to speak with all members of our organization, contractors, merit staff, everybody that's within Workforce Solutions Borderplex. We have a personal relationship with now at this point, because we've had to sit with them, intimately speak about different programs, and really break it down. So the conversion of the grant language down to bringing it down to a public brand language and voice that we're trying to do, this creates a really good relationship. So it's kind of a nice boost, and it brings kind of this sense of pride to the program coordinators and the program directors that, hey, that's my program and here's what I'm doing. And to actually be able to see their work as a staff member unfold in these productions is very gratifying, and we can see that across the board. And what we've also noticed is that when we have partners outside of Workforce Solutions Borderplex whom we're highlighting, there is also the same sense of pride and willingness to talk more about Workforce Solutions Borderplex and share word of mouth as far as who we are. So what that's done for us is really start breaking down that association of us being the unemployment office and more of the solutions place, your one-stop job center. So that's what I think has been one of the side benefits of doing this with Workforce Wednesday. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Kando.
Most definitely. I think that it helps us to visually paint what our coordinators are doing. I know that I came on during the pandemic and it was full steam ahead. Everybody, funding sources, funding solutions, trying to answer the calls. I know there was 1,000,001 things happening. And so at this point in us sharing these weekly programs and the solutions, it's kind of given everybody that reprieve that we are providing solutions. And wow, look at that success story. Wow, look at that partner. And I tell the coordinators all the time once I get off our interview, and Bianca, that our partners cannot say enough good things about our in-house coordinators. They're always very happy. They ask me for more things. I have to give feedback. They have just been so happy with how our staff has responded. And for me, I just get to tell the stories, and I help bring to life what maybe is on paper or what people are doing in their offices or on the phone. So especially because of COVID, a majority of these things have not been people have not been physically present. So they're not able to actually see this work in motion, really. It's kind of making phone calls, placing groups, and moving. It's kind of like a chessboard. So when we get to put these stories together, it's really cool for them to visually see what they've brought to life and to hear feedback from the people that they've maybe just been emailing for months. Maybe they haven't even spoken to them on the phone. So it's definitely been great to see all this come to life. And we're almost up to 70 episodes. So that's how many things have been happening over the past year and a half to 2 years. And that's not even the tip of the iceberg.
Quick question for you from Jen Troke. Jen Troke says, thank you for your work on the Disaster Dislocated Worker Grant. She loves the clip and she'll be sure to get it back to DOL. And she wanted to know if all of your videos are on the Borderplex website.
Yes, they absolutely are. And you're so welcome. Thank you so much for that feedback. Well, this is why we do this. That felt so good. And I know the program director, Almiranda's watching, and I know she's welling up with a lot of pride and excitement. So thank you so much for that info, for that feedback. So we have our Workforce Wednesday gallery available both on YouTube, and we have it on our website, borderplexjobs.com. If you want to head over to there's a news and events tab that you can click on, and you can click directly on Workforce Wednesday, so you'll be able to see that direct. But if you just search Workforce Solutions Borderplex on YouTube, you'll be able to find our channel pretty easily. And so yeah, 72 stories. When you say it like that, Kando, I'm kind of just, man, that's not even close to the amount of other content that we still have to produce. And but it's good. It's a really good way to see the portfolio and to see the progress that the organization is having, where we can all, as an organization, take a step back and really see what we've done. So
and we have a long list of stories still that we're waiting to cover. And on top of that, our partners also share this on their social media. They also share it on their websites with their coordinators. So our work with our department is also helping other communication departments. So especially with our school districts, their public information officers and communication directors say, oh my God, sometimes they are not even in the loop on some of these programs. So when I call and I'm like, hey, I'm requesting an interview, they're like, wait, what? Can you send me the information? And then they'll ask for our video. So it's a great culmination of all of this coming together. And on top of it, it's another form of free marketing. I mean, we're putting the work in, but it's out there, it's up, and it's great to circle back to. So I'll take over here. Now, there has been a lot of things we've learned in this process. As I mentioned, I came on board during the pandemic. I actually left the news 2 years ago to stay home with my son. He's a toddler. Both Bianca and I have toddlers. They're best friends. And we have had to work from home and sneak recording during nap time, up late at night. So it hasn't completely been easy or fluid because importing, exporting all these assets, getting the interviews, Zoom interviews. Zoom has made it very easy, however, because I will say for anyone who maybe feels they're not technical or thinks that we're these crazy gurus, I am not an editor. That's why I'm the producer. I'm the writer. I'm great at on camera, and I'm great at calling and getting interviews. Don't ask me to edit anything. Bianca, the editor, has I will say she has greater writing skills than me. And she's in-house, so she's my guide when I'm like, hey, is it this coordinator? I've learned more that I've been on a little over 6 months. So we connect all the dots, and then we have a whole other team that we're working with now. We work with Mr. Rick at Riverside. He has 20 years of experience as a master controller editor, so when our volume has been too high, whatever's going on, he fixes it like that. So there's a lot of moving parts, but Zoom makes it very easy if you all ever just want to do an interview and export that interview. It's very simple. We've learned some things through COVID, and there has been some silver linings, as we mentioned earlier. One, we filmed a majority of our episodes on iPhones on the phone. Literally like this, filming horizontal. That's how we had filmed intros and outros, because we couldn't be near each other and nobody was in the office for months. So we just now were finally able to film together. This has, however, allowed us access to more experts, participants, and partners. As we mentioned before, there is a lot of field time and having to go to offices, set up equipment, squeeze in time. Now with Zoom, I literally send an email, follow up with a phone call, and say, hey, I just need 15 or 20 minutes of your time. And people are more readily available to do those interviews more quickly, and they're more comfortable. Sometimes some of our partners, even some of our in-house coordinators, don't want to be on camera, but they feel more comfortable with Zoom. We talk a little bit before, and then we get rolling. Something else that we've learned, especially right now, is that storytelling is an essential business. It's an essential key to marketing, our outreach, our productivity, our return of investment, all of it together. It's essential. And our workforce developers are first responders. We are economic first responders. And so we take everything that we do and everything that we piece together very seriously. All of these interviews have even led to other partnerships, to all kinds of other great opportunities, because it's been almost quicker and easier communication and access. We've also realized that there's no boundaries. We try to obviously email during normal daytime hours, but we receive responses back late at night, early in the morning. And I've had to remind people, I'm recording the video, so you will be on camera. So please make sure you're dressed from the top up. Because there's been people who say, oh, it's on camera? Like, yes, we're still doing the video production. Before I go into the next part, does anybody have any questions?
Yes, thank you. Quick question. Could you do a mini class on how to do video editing? She would love that.
Absolutely, we can do that. And I'll go into a little bit with that in the next slide when the step-by-step logistics. So yes, absolutely. And kind of going back to the first bullet here, when Kandolite says that iPhones is amazing, I promise that I'm not an ambassador for Apple and I don't get paid for this, but I work on Mac products, and Mac, whether it's a MacBook Pro or an iMac, Mac comes already installed with a really cool editing software that you don't have to get serious with the serious editing. I mean, I can sometimes go into that, but when I want to do a quick boom, 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 we need to do this in the next 30 minutes, iMovie on Apple is, I mean, it takes, anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. So absolutely, we can certainly host a training session and maybe a Workforce Wednesday, how to get it done session once we're done with this. So happy to do that.
We would love to. And the elements of how we have to think of visual, what you need to fill in the gaps, because we don't like to be on camera the whole time. The story's not about us. So, Bianca will share some of the assets that we share for what we call B-roll, the video you see in between, like a commercial ad. Something else we'd like to add with what we've learned through COVID is that during this time, people have been obviously overwhelmed with lots of stories. There's a lot happening. We are consuming more news probably than ever because we need to be up to date with what's happening, what's open, what's closed, what's happening next with COVID-19, with jobs, resources. There's a million things happening. But something that we learned locally through the station that we worked for is that people have a trusted source where they're consuming this information. It may be their neighbor, their parents. It may be a particular radio station, a particular news station, a newspaper. People have a trusted source that they normally go to, and word of mouth happens. The particular station we worked for, which was KFOX 14, was last in the ratings over a decade ago. They were not really the news station that people turned to, but they were still trying to be there. They were doing their job. They had their teams ready to go, and suddenly an opportunity popped up. 2006, there was these horrible rainstorms that hit El Paso, and it was a disaster. We are far west Texas, we're a desert town. Everything was flooded. It was like the ocean. It was horrible, and our infrastructure was not prepared for it. At this point, our news station then executed flawlessly what needed to happen to become the #1 trusted source for that time. The ratings have changed now. But that is where this is where the KFOX severe weather team prevailed and was basically reborn. Our teams were where they needed to be. They were sharing stories of people that had been impacted. They were sharing stories of what the city was doing, what resources were going to be available. Teams were everywhere, and they were right on track with what needed to be shared, and so people were tuning into them. That opportunity helped them to become the trusted source. COVID has taught us that Workforce Solutions Borderplex has always been a resource, and we've always dealt with people who were unemployed and people who already had various things stacked up against them, a compilation of things that were making life difficult for them. Then COVID hit, and it made it even harder, whatever barriers they were facing. So at this point, the team has been working in overdrive, and I have to give Bianca so much praise for this, because when I first came on, it was just her and I, and now we have a whole team. We are a workforce worldwide. We have an editor in the Philippines. We have a brand manager who's in Canada, or was in Canada, is upstate. We have people from all over working at different times of the day, working overdrive to share all these programs and execute everything that's happening. So we're not just storytelling, we're actually part of the coordination of some of these programs and speaking to coordinators to help them reach partners, to make sure we get the word out, especially in the rural areas where they really don't have access to internet and they really don't watch the news. It's the town people that speak to each other in the meetings. So opportunity, those storms hit, and that's when the news station prevailed. COVID has hit, and Workforce Solutions has stepped up everything that we're doing so that we're that trusted source for people when they think about what they need to do to get back to work.
Absolutely. That was beautifully said, Kando. That is a great analogy to COVID is in somewhat like the 2006 storms, but this is also the moment for Workforce Solutions Borderplex, and equally the moment for every single one of your boards as well. Because we, as Kando mentioned, we're the first responders. We're the people that are going to be one of the first touch points for these individuals who have lost their jobs or are reconsidering pivoting their career. We are the people, and by being prepared, by having all of these resources ready to go, we now are gaining that trust. We're making a loyalty connection with them, and that's huge. That's a super expensive in the world of advertising, and we're doing it with just these little stories and all of the preparation that we've done over the past. So just taking advantage of this moment and looking at COVID as terrible as it's been for a lot of us, it's definitely an opportunity for our workforce development boards to shine in the spotlight, because we all deserve being recognized for all the work that we've been doing. I'm going to jump into slide 5, where we get started with storytelling to kind of answer the earlier question. Where do we even begin? Where does this happen? So I touched a little bit on that at the beginning, but if you want to change that over for me, Kando. So the number one thing that we do need to have when it comes to storytelling and communicating the internal workings of your workforce development board is super important, that we're all here because we have a passion for something. And although our passion is definitely storytelling, we also have a passion to serve. And public service has always been at the forefront for both Kandolite and I. Our previous experience before Workforce Solutions Borderplex, even before, outside of journalism, has been in nonprofit. So serving the public is major, and that's the light, that is the electricity that's going to really ignite the power for your storytelling abilities and for doing a similar type of project like Workforce Wednesday. Now, when that purpose comes out and you're allowed to be your authentic self, and you encourage authenticity with your individuals or with your contractors, and Kandolite and I are 100% authentic ourselves, and down to the imperfections. We've had bloopers that we've intentionally left in because it's funny or because it really shows personality. And with that purpose and you add authenticity, you start developing a voice, you start developing a style, and you alone as an individual, aside from just Workforce Wednesday or whatever your series will be called, you become a brand within yourself. So it's very good to immerse yourselves and be the best version of yourself, and just love yourself and be authentic, be genuine, and your purpose will shine out. So also knowing your audience. Kandolite mentions that, you know, we go through programs and we're not like news. We're not a news station. We're not talking to everybody. In a sense, we do want everybody to know what we're doing, but there are very specific programs that need very specific micro-targeting, because we all know that these grants have very specific eligibility requirements. So oftentimes we are poring over these grants, making sure that we understand the eligibility, all of the criteria, and incorporate that into their story. So it's very important that whatever project you're working on and that you want to tell the story on, if it involves that type of outreach, to integrate that somehow, not in grant language, but in your language and your voice, so that it's understandable to the public. As I mentioned, intention is key. When you do decide that you have a story that you want to talk about, always ask yourself at the beginning. Also, as important as the 5 W's is to ask yourself, what am I trying to do here? What is the ultimate outcome that I want from this story? Because obviously we do want a story tell, but we want an effect. We want a result. And always make sure that you know what the intended result is going to be before you start writing your story. Logistics are super important, and definitely we're more than happy to host a training session on this, because logistics it's really like you're an orchestra director, and you have your winds, you have your brass, you have all of these different instruments that you know the song that you want to come out, but you kind of have to like little by little cue everybody, and then at the end of it, it kind of just sounds amazing. And you're this composer, and you need to know every single one of these pieces from the inside out, because all of these pieces are going to be moving at the same time. So I don't know, it's almost like if you don't have your logistics mapped out, picture like a lottery ball machine without the case. They'll go everywhere and you'll be everywhere. So that's essentially what you're going to do. So that's exactly what telling a story is when it comes to all of logistics. You're the lottery balls, they're flying everywhere, but they're contained within a very visible container, and then you have your winning numbers, which is your story. I hope that analogy makes sense. I just came out of nowhere. And then make sure that you have a platform for all of your storytelling. We have it on our YouTube, which is where we promote a lot of this. We also have it on our website, but we also make sure to rack all of these stories in a very neat binder virtually on one of our project management platforms. And project management platforms have saved us during COVID, since we can't just walk in and out of offices anymore. We've had to integrate some type of virtual organization tool. And Kando mentioned earlier that we have the Workforce Worldwide team. And to explain that a little bit more in depth, we contract with a freelance service, which, you know, it's here in the States, but the freelancers that they have are all over the world, and these are amazing freelancers. They have amazing ideas. They have worldwide experience. So we've been able to use this project management tool for mapping out these logistics and have it within one screen with all of our individual freelancers from Upwork that are making this possible. So yes, you see Kandolite and I on the screen, and behind the scenes you do have somebody from it could be any country, but they're everywhere. So definitely have some type of tool like that to help you organize, because we all know the email drowning that can happen if you have so much going on. Okay, so moving on over to a little bit more of the tough logistics, and hopefully my camera can show this out on the next slide, but I kind of want to talk to you about how we first started with this. And we're all familiar with those, I know we have about 6 minutes. We're all familiar with those GoPros. Well, we found a very similar one. It's called Ozzy, and I'm going to show it right here. You guys can kind of see him. He's a little robot. You see him kind of moving around. This is Ozzy. He is a GoPro that stabilizes images. He's super cool. Gosh, you can't really see that. Oh, I guess I could just hold it in front of me. So he stabilizes the image, and he can follow anybody. He can follow anything, and it shoots in 4K. This thing is super tiny. It fits in this really small case that we have. You can attach all different types of things. We have microphones. We have different types of lenses. We have our boom mic here, which is cool. And then we have our smaller mic. So it's a super cool little tool. Like if you're running around town, and we obviously aren't a major production team, but we do have our Aussies that we carry around, and that's an awesome way of getting that started, and it's super affordable. So we make sure we have the necessary adapters. We obviously don't have the time or the resources to be shooting absolutely everything, so we rely heavily on Canva. Canva subscription to get a lot of our stock video. I mean, it's the best rate. It's a small annual rate for an endless library of stock video that you can ask Kando. She's always pulling assets. You need anything specific. I need somebody, I don't know, standing on top of a desk at dusk. We'll find somebody standing over the top of the desk. Like whatever it is that our vision has, very likely that Canva has it. I mentioned the video editor, which for me, I use Premiere, but I also use iMovie because it's already installed and it's a lot faster. Premiere is something that you want to use when you want to be very intricate with your editing, but iMovie is boom, boom, boom. You can do it super quickly. And most importantly, believe in your story, believe in what you do, and that's going to show on your final product. All right.
It seems crazy. It seems crazy when we talk about it, but if you just did it for one day, you'd be like, oh, if you're a visual learner, we can show you step by step. And with the storytelling, I would say it's like, go back to grade school when you had to write an essay, a good introduction, the program, an interview, and then a close, a call to action. So, simple. It's not as difficult as all these moving pieces, but it is a lot of moving pieces. But it's like riding a bike. Once you get it, you just keep knocking them out. So you could start, I would definitely encourage you starting with a story once a month. Then maybe if you have the staff and help, bi-weekly, then maybe weekly. So Bianca was doing this by herself, which I don't know how she did it before, but she made it happen.
Two questions for you ladies. Will the PowerPoint be available, and what type of project management are you using?
Yes, the PowerPoint will be available. We will definitely push that out along with the links to our YouTube. So if I can get it over to you, Pamela, or somebody at TWC, we'll put a little kit for everybody that's interested in this. And as far as the project management tool that we're able to use to kind of coordinate all of the monster logistics, not just at Workforce Wednesday, but at the communications department, we use something called Monday.com. It's very similar to things like Trello, Asana, but Monday.com seems to work really well for us. You can automate things. You customize it to your specific project. So it's been amazing for us.
Great. And Jen has to say again what a great job you ladies are doing and how fun it is and how exciting it seems. Are there any other questions? We do have a couple more minutes. If anybody wants to submit questions, feel free. But you ladies are so inspiring. I cannot even believe it. I don't even do what you do, but I want to go do some video of myself. You make it seem so easy.
It does become easy. It becomes second nature once you get used to it. And we do this weekly. So after 70 times, you're just like, oh, here, do this. It's a lot easier.
And sometimes things happen, like I literally just noticed that I think my flag's backwards. I don't know if I imported it wrong or mirrored. So things like that happen where that's why we have other eyes, because we'll do a story, we'll knock it out, we'll have the interview, log the sound, and then we'll replay it and we're like, oh no. 'Cause we're both also very much perfectionists, so God bless our editors, because sometimes we're like, no, we don't like that video actually. No, I don't like that soundbite. Let's redo that. So, we also want to make sure that that there's pride, that the coordinators know that we do put full effort in sharing what they're doing daily.
Oh, it's still in the session. They haven't ended it.
Well, it's obvious that you all enjoy what you do and are inspiring others to want to follow in your footsteps. So thank you so much for speaking with us today. Thank you to all the audience for being a part of the session. And just a reminder, when you click on the red X to leave the event, that you will get a survey immediately popping up on your browser. And if you would take a moment to complete that, that would be fabulous to give some feedback to what you want next year. And with that, I believe we are on break until our last session is going to be at 3:30. So we will see you back at 3:30. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for attending the 2021 Texas Workforce Commission Virtual Forum. We trust the information was beneficial and will help us better serve the people of Texas. We will see you next year.